Self-awareness is a superpower. Welcome to Soul and Vibration. So, Mercury in Gemini. Mercury rules the planet Gemini, and Mercury is at home here because it rules the planet Gemini. Mercury in Gemini is a person who is basically, your mind moves at the speed of light. Mercury is the planet of communication, and Mercury is known as the king's messenger. Mercury is the fastest and smallest planet, fastest, smallest, and closest planet to the sun. So with Mercury being all of that, Mercury is the king's messenger because of all the planets. Mercury is the only one that can go from the heavens all the way down to hell, down to Pluto, to the underworld. And that represents our mind and the capability of our mind, and how our mind can go from a beautiful, empowering, and warm thought to one that is dangerous, destructive, and should never happen. You know, that's the power of Mercury. Mercury is also known to represent thieves and fraud and all of the trickster-like behavior. So Mercury and Gemini, Mercury is free to do all of these things. And Mercury being in Gemini, to me, I feel like when Mercury is here, it is almost like a plastic bag playing in the wind. How the wind can take a plastic bag and take it here and there and everywhere. I feel like that's the thought process of a Gemini mind. So Mercury in Gemini is someone who is very quick-wit, someone who is very like Aries, how you are quick with information and like to get straight to the point. Mercury and Gemini people are also extremely bored quickly with information. I find that Mercury and Gemini will know a little bit about everything, know a little bit about everything, and take pride in their ability to be able to talk about everything. But unlike Virgo, Gemini will not be able to go into depth because they get bored too quick before they're able to get deep into a subject and learn a lot about it. And the trickster part of Mercury in Gemini, I've experienced this with my brother and an ex, someone that I used to date. And having them in my life has really helped me to become a better communicator, has helped me to be able to pretty much like observe my own speech while I'm speaking, and just overall a better communicator. And they could be a little bit manipulative in their communication, because with Mercury being in Gemini, like Geminis take pride on being intelligent. And I find that if they ever feel threatened in communication, they will manipulate the conversation just to take it over so they can feel confident and feel in charge of the conversation. And with my ex and brother, I noticed that, say we would have a debate where we are debating that the sky is blue. So I start off the debate saying that, yeah, the sky is blue. And my ex or brother, they start off saying that the sky is really orange. So we're going at it and we're sharing why we believe the sky is a certain color. In mid-air, mid-conversation, the Gemini or Mercury in Gemini will realize that, hey, she's right. The sky isn't orange. She's actually right that it's blue. So let me say it's purple, because purple is actually close to blue. So that way I can say that, hey, we've been saying the same thing from the beginning. And that's something that I've learned in communication with them. Like, they're very quick and very smart, to where if you're not tracking the conversation closely, it will be over your head, and you'll find that conversations with these people, it's like you're constantly going around in circles. You're constantly going around in circles because it's like they keep taking you to a point to prove their point. And if there's no point there, they'll just keep taking you around in circles until they wear you out, until you give in. But I have strong Gemini in my chart. I have a Gemini North Node and I have a 3rd house stellium. So basically, after a while, I learned to realize what was happening. But first, it took someone else witnessing the conversation to say, hey, I just saw what happened here. Where for me, I couldn't see what was happening. I just know that they would tie me up in a mental loop and how I'd be exhausted and I'll tap out. But that is the power of Mercury in Gemini, the ability to be so quick. It's almost like a dragonfly being able to switch directions, or hummingbird being able to switch directions of flight in mid-speed. That's Mercury and Gemini. So yeah, these people make great debaters, make great lawyers and different things like that, because their mental sparring ability is out of this world. And if you are not equipped that way, the way these people communicate could be completely over your head. I find though that, yes, Mercury is my chart ruler because I have a Virgo rising. So this is where, you know, I could be annoying communicating with them because I'm going to want to go deeper. And like I said, Mercury and Gemini, they know a little bit about everything, but not enough. Don't get too bored to learn enough about one thing. And this might be different for you because maybe you have some other strong placements that help you to dive deep. But for the most part, yeah, most Mercury and Geminis know a little bit about everything, but not a lot about one specific thing. And in my past experience, this is where the trickster type communication will come in, because it's like you'll want to go deep and then they'll bring you up out of it by switching the subject, or just like, I don't know, it's like zoom, zoom, zoom with the mind. And you're like, wait, when did we go from this to that? But that's the power of it. Gemini is a sign that represents duality. It represents the duality that exists within all things. Wait, one thing, let me say something else. Mercury also rules the hands and it rules the nervous system and something else. And if you think about it, our nervous system is a messenger, and the duality in the hands. And I feel like to a certain extent, our hands are messengers, because through touch, you know, you can touch things and get an idea of it without seeing it. But what I was going to say about Gemini, Gemini representing duality, representing opposition in all things. I think back about the mythology story about the twins, and basically how, you know, one twin was immortal, the other twin was mortal. One died in battle, and the one that was a son of Zeus, the one that was immortal, begged his father to take his life too, because he couldn't live without his brother. And basically because of his courageous or selfless, you know, actions, Zeus rewarded him and the brother that died and put them in the constellation that we look up at as Gemini. And that brother not being able to live without his other half represents the void that I believe we all feel within us. Like with Gemini energy, Mercury and Gemini, it's like you're always searching for something. Something is missing. But that thing that feels like it's missing, it's not really missing. It's you. It's your shadow side. It's the other half of you that you are suppressing and not allowing to exist, to breathe. It's almost like locking up smoke inside of a room. Eventually it's going to seep through the cracks and under the doors. And that's why Geminis are known for like being two-faced or having split personalities. And it's not because they are any of these things. It's just that we were conditioned to be a certain way. So I feel like in the process of being conditioned and living up to society's expectations, it's like one twin is locked away into the closet. And the one that's locked away is the one that represents the truest part of who we really are, because that is the one that is unconditioned, that is the one that is authentic and completely real. So I find that with Mercury and Gemini, like basically your mind is one that is extremely busy, and that it's one that goes from one extreme to the next. And it's important to allow yourself to express all the different things that you are into. Associate yourself with people that allow you to open up and to present the complexities of your mind, because locking away one side of yourself in order to please society, it's like basically it will cause you to suffer. It will cause you to feel like the need to always search for something that you could never seem to find. The more you look, the further it gets away from you, when that thing that you're looking for is you needing to accept yourself, to accept the way that you think, to accept the fact that you may think a little bit different from others, and that's okay. And it's important to support the fact that you think different from others. If you made it all the way to the end. Oh, and one more thing that I wanted to say. Another thing that's interesting with, like, say where your Mercury is and your sun. I didn't say this. I don't know if I said this, but yeah, with Mercury being the closest planet to the sun and the sun's messenger, it's like, imagine if your sun is, so Mercury can only be within the same house as your sun, one side before or one sign before or one sign behind. So say if you have Mercury in Gemini and your sun isn't in Gemini, your sun is in Cancer or Taurus, you'll find that who you identify as will be completely different from how your mind works. So as sun in Cancer, you might identify as a very private person, a person who's reserved, a person who's nurturing and caring. And then with your Mercury in Gemini, you might find that the kind of information that you like to consume is somewhat conflicting to who you identify as. So you could be, you could identify sun in Taurus, identify as a stable, traditional type person, but at the same time, you consume information that is about everything and all things. So it's like, here you go, you know a little bit about everything and all things, but at the same time, it's conflicting to who you identify as, because it's threatening the traditions that you know and hold dear to you. So if Mercury is away, not too close, or not in the same house as your sun, close to your sun, you'll notice that there's a delay in speech, delay in information. And that could be frustrating, because if you're consuming information opposite from who you identify as, I feel like without a certain level of maturity, it might come off to some as if you are two different people, or as if like basically who you identify as and the things that you are doing might not match. So that could be a little bit interesting. But overall, having the sun away in a different house, the good thing about it is that it might help you to be able to filter your information before you spit it out. Where when it's in the same house and it's conjuncting the sun as you think it, you say it, and it's like, whoa, you didn't even get a chance to go over it. Where when it's in a different sign and it's further away, it's a little slower, so it might make it harder for you to learn things, or it might take you time to learn things. And it just might mean that, like I said, who you identify as and the way you think are totally different. So you might be torn between who you identify as and the kind of information that you're consuming. Because I feel like our mind basically our mind sets the tone for our reality. So being aware of this helps you to be able to work on it. If you're still here with me, please give me a thumbs up in the comment box below to let me know you've made it to the end. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.